Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Krysta, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Today, I have a treat for you. We are going to be chatting with Kaylor Betts. I just love Kaylor. He is such a wonderful human. I kind of call him like the male version of myself in the podcast. You'll find out why, but we've just been on very similar journeys in our lives. And we connected kind of during the height of the pandemic, and I actually ended up doing some coaching work with him. So Kaylor is a wonderful coach. He is a rising star in the mental health space. His following has just been growing substantially, and he has an amazing podcast called the Mental Wealth Podcast. I highly suggest you check it out. And what I love about Kaylor is he's a contrarian, and he holds no punches when speaking out against the mainstream opinion. I am very much like that as well. He's a little bit more in your face about it, but that is what I love about him. And, Kaylor has faced his mental health head on and tackled his long history with anxiety and depression. And, he's had to take a deep dive into, his history with anxiety and depression, similarly to how I have. And so he and I have a little bit of a different approach to how we have gone about our healing, but there are a lot of similarities there as well. And yeah, this conversation went in a direction that I didn't think it was going to go in. I thought we were going to be chatting, more about nutrition. And Kaylor likes to promote some kind of, I don't know, it's like hilarious, I'm going to say, health trends out there right now, like sunning your genitals. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but yeah, I don't know if I subscribe to that one exactly, but he seems to be a fan. We don't get into that one in this episode. We actually end up talking about, a little bit of like astrology and some of the experiences that I've had working with psychics and building my business. And it was a really beautiful conversation because we have opposing views on some things, but are both very open-minded. And yeah, I think if anything, it's just a really great conversation to listen to see what that looks like, when two people with open minds can come together and have a conversation about like a very wide variety of subjects, which you'll see on this episode. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into this podcast and have a chat with Kaylor Betts. Kaylor, it is so amazing to see you, my friend. Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. It's been too long since I've seen your face. How are you?
I know. I'm really good. I'm excited for this. I was kind of hanging out and chatting with you when this was all just a little vision, and it's really cool that you've brought this to life, and you've had some amazing guests so far because you're already a rock star, and it's nice to see. So let's fucking jam. Can I swear on this podcast? I'm assuming.
Absolutely,
Okay.
you can. Yeah.
I figured this would be a real and raw platform. Great.
Yeah. I mean, we've met before. You know what I'm about. Well, for people who don't know, Kaylor is an amazing coach. If you haven't heard of his platform yet, it is the Mental Wealth platform, which is absolutely amazing. I want to dig into that. I also just want to like plug your coaching skills because Kaylor and I work together. Gosh, it's like almost been a year, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it was like November of 2021, I think.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It seems like it
Man,
wasn't that
time
long ago.
flies. Time
So much,
flies.
yeah.
Yeah.
So much has
Yeah.
happened since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, highly valuable coach, I'd have to say.
Thank you.
You
Thank you very much.
literally, yeah, you helped double my income this past year, just
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you have no idea how much that puts a smile to my face. I mean, that's what I'm, that's what I'm fucking here to do. But, I mean, you were already very successful before that. And one of the things I talk all the time about is our businesses are just a projection and a reflection of us, right? Our businesses will only grow as much as we do. And I mean, it's just, I mean, I just did the easy things and just look, I have such an advantage as a coach. I have such an objective view on your life, right? I don't have all the bullshit in the way. I don't have the conditioning, the biases, the wounds, the emotions, the thoughts, the ideas. I don't have those in the way. It's hard, even for me, when I'm in the midst of my business. And then someone can come in and look at it objectively and say, yo, like, why don't you do this? Like, this is a little shift that could change the fucking game. And that's all we did. But you went out and you actually had the courage to implement it. That's a whole other story. And you're the one doing the real work. So I'm
Yeah.
happy
Well,
for
thank
you.
you for that. And it was such a small change. So after this conversation, if anyone is interested in reaching out to Kaylor for coaching, testimonial here, highly, highly recommend.
Thank you. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. We didn't even I feel obliged now to say that that wasn't even planned, and
It wasn't.
it warms my heart. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into your background a little bit and let's talk about how you achieved mental wealth. Let's talk about your brand and how you got there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what mental wealth really is first and foremost.
Mm.
So, I think mental wealth it's interesting. That term has kind of evolved for me in terms of its definition. But I would say at the end of the day, we are all here for one thing and one thing only, and that's our highest qualities of life, right? And well, what does that really mean? I think that often when we hear, like on the news, like, oh, they did a survey and they took all these countries and they asked all these questions, and we compiled a list of the countries that have the highest qualities of life. And it's always so conditional. It's always such external factors that they're looking at, right? It's like being in a safe place. Is it a safe country? Do they have clean drinking water? Do they have access to services? Is it, the list goes on and on, right? And sure, they look at a little bit of the internal, but I think that when you look at it, it's interesting because if you look at the world, it's not the places that have the best external worlds that are the happiest. It's not the places that have the best conditions that are the happiest. You look at places in rural Africa and rural China, they may be the happiest places on earth, right? You look at Buddhist monks who go and give up everything and meditate in a fucking cave for, months on end and have nothing, right? They've measured and looked at their brains, and they're the happiest people on earth as well too. So I think really mental wealth comes down to the internal game. That to me is your highest quality of life is and let me break it down even further, because I think that's the real question. It's like, what are we really all striving for? And sure, it's our highest quality of life, but what does that really mean? Because that's kind of broad. Our highest qualities of life, I think most people would go to, well, I just want to be happy. And it's like, well, that's interesting because life's fucking hard and you're not always going to be happy, right? I don't think that's the most noble pursuit, because what if your family member dies? What if you are going through a divorce? What if you just wake up and you're just feeling shitty and dragging your ass? What if you have strep throat like I do today, right? Happiness is fleeting. When it comes, enjoy it, great, live it, embrace it. It's awesome. I'm all for it. But it's just a side effect of things in your external world that you don't control happening to work out. And then if you've done the internal work, the byproduct should be happiness. But really, what I consider it to be is peace and purpose. Okay. Inner peace and purpose. I think those are two buckets in our lives, Krysta, that when those buckets are filled, that's, I think, what we should be striving for. We don't want to be in a battle with our minds. And let me just clarify what inner peace means. It doesn't mean you don't feel negative emotions. It makes you human to feel anxious and depressed, guilty, sad sometimes. It's that those emotions are regulated by you. It's that those emotions don't take the driver's seat. Okay. And those emotions are managed by you. You feel them when they should be there, but they're fleeting and they go away when they shouldn't be there anymore, right? That's really what inner peace is. It's the ability to regulate those emotions. And then purpose is like really self-explanatory. I mean, like I'm so scared to even think of one of the most scary thoughts, Krysta, for me is if I somehow didn't have my mission tomorrow. My mission is to go out and help millions of people build mental wealth, right? To build inner peace and purpose, to achieve their highest qualities of life. And if someone took away this, what we're doing right now, if someone took away my platforms, if someone took away, like, who knows if that's even possible, but that's a scary thought because I would then lack an incredible amount of meaning. And meaning is truly what helps me get through. I think it was Viktor Frankl that said, he who has a why can bear anyhow. Right. So to me, it's like my mission is literally what gets me through the inevitable adversity of life. So I'm going to just leave it there and I'll pause. I didn't even really answer your initial question, which was how I accomplished that. But I told you the definition because I think that's super important. I
It
don't think
is.
a lot of people really know what we're actually striving for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll pause.
No, that's incredibly helpful, right? And I love this because this is what you work with clients on. I think those were like one of the first two questions that, or yeah, one of the first questions that you asked me. What does peace and purpose look like for you? And I really had to think about that, right? I think it's not something that people generally think about very often, or it's always something external, right? It's like having a certain amount of money or a partnership or whatever that is. And it's interesting because it's something else to reflect on, but like you mentioned how, and this can happen, like a lot of our identity and our purpose gets wrapped up in what we do, right? So you're talking about like if my platforms ever get taken away, like what would I do? So I think it's like this constant practice of like taking even those layers off, right? And going even deeper and finding out, okay, like, is there even more to the core of what brings me peace and purpose? Because that still is kind of an external thing, but it is incredibly important.
I'm so glad you brought this up. It's a really good point, and it's something that I actually acknowledge a lot is that one of the reasons why I am so invested in my mission is because it can't be taken away from me. My
Mm-hmm.
megaphones can be taken away from me, right? I have to admit that this is a megaphone. Instagram is a megaphone, right? Social media in general is, the phone is. But if that was taken away from me, then, like I said from the beginning, like I always have to go back to like, if I could just help and change the trajectory of one person's life a month, like
Mm.
I have to forget about the the followers, the money, the subscribers, the training and stuff that I do, the podcast. Like I have to forget about those things and always remember, like literally at the end of the day, if I can just change the like fucking think about that. If you can change the trajectory of one person's life a month, that is not to be underestimated. That's huge.
Mm.
So I would shift my focus to that, right? It can't be taken away from us, that mission, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you
Yeah.
with your, wild remedies. It's like, okay, let's say things did go to shit, right? Feeding your neighbor, feeding one person a week who needs food or needs a remedy, right? That's powerful. And so many people I think are out there, and number one, we're in a battle with our mind, like often in a battle with our minds. That's where I was. I didn't have inner peace. And that prevents you from starting a mission, right? We can get into that if you want. But so many people like don't realize that everyone's thinking about themselves. Not everyone, but often, and there's no judgment or shame if this is where you're at, because I was there as well too. Is like why I hesitated to align with my mission and to put myself out there and show up and actually execute it is because all I was doing was thinking about myself. It's like, well,
Mm.
okay, if I go out there and I do it, what if this person thinks this? What if I get embarrassed? What if I fail? What if I this? The commonality is I. And I had to wake up one day and say, it's not fucking about you. Your mission is not about you. Your mission is about other people. There's people crying themselves to sleep that could already use your help, right? Stop being so selfish. Stop being so self-conscious and put the focus off of you. And I think that's one of the major factors of mental wealth is purpose. And that's just about having a mission.
Mm. I love that. And how did you discover that purpose? Right? Because it didn't start out that way.
Yeah. So young Pablo says a great quote among many that he says. He says, "A hero is someone who heals their own wounds and then helps others do the same." So for me, that's just the journey that I feel that I'm on. I'm not suggesting that I'm some sort of hero, but that's the journey I feel like I'm on. I feel like I've healed a lot of my own wounds. And what's interesting is I feel like I actually have like a responsibility. I look at the Western clinical world, it's so fucked up. Like our approach to healing people physically and mentally is so fucked up. I'm not going to say that there aren't good aspects. I'm not going to say that it's never useful. In fact, it actually performs miracles when it comes to like reactive medicine and acute things, like when we need something like a surgery or even antibiotics sometimes. But the way in which we're just approaching the ignorance, the greed, the corruption, the neglect of what's evolutionarily consistent, what we've known for like, we completely and entirely don't listen. Excuse me, we don't listen to tribes and cultures that have been healing themselves for, so many um like hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and we just completely put our focus into, reactive medicine, and it's so fucked up. So I feel like the system failed me when it was supposed to be there for me, and I feel like I'm like curing some sort of like rare form of like a disease that the world fails to acknowledge there's a cure,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like most people who are depressed and anxious and like in a battle with their mind, most people go and just get talk therapy and some pills. And sure, maybe they get a little better, but it doesn't go away. It doesn't heal. And then you just get a whole other side of shit that you are dealing with in terms of side effects, and it's just band-aid solutions everywhere. So I feel like I have a responsibility in a way, and then I love doing it, and it's kind of selfish, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'd be lying if I said it's always, yeah, the focus is on other people, the focus is on to make an impact, but that makes me feel good. I need that for my mental wealth. So in a way, it's kind of selfish. I know
Yeah.
that's weird.
Selfish in an altruistic way, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
just
that.
being real,
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, I don't know, we've had a few conversations about this kind of stuff before, and I feel like you're kind of like the male version of me. Like, our stories are so similar. Like, we both come, we have like this wounded healer archetype, right? And I feel like a lot of people who are in the health industry are generally, speaking from that place. They've struggled with health and wellness, the system has failed them. They've come to a whole bunch of realizations and conclusions and just feel compelled to help other people or create products, like I ended up doing. Um, and what I think is really interesting, I don't know if we managed to have this conversation, but like our symptoms growing up too were really similar. So I almost spat my drink out on one of our calls. I laughed so hard, but Kaylor and I were talking about our health challenges as kids. And both you and I had chronic throat infections all the time, right?
I have
And
one
I
right
was
now,
like, yeah, like you do right now. I've been since I had my tonsils out, I haven't had strep or anything since, which has been like
for
fuck,
sure.
like game changing.
Yeah.
But I used to get so sick, and I was, I don't know, kind of like grossed out to share with you at the time. I was like, yeah, so like I used to get so sick and have so like my throat hurt so bad that I couldn't even swallow. So I would lay on the side of the couch and just like spit into a bowl. And Kaylor's like, "Oh yeah, the spit cup." You're like, I had one of those too, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?"
Yeah.
There's someone else that has a spit cup.
And it's so funny because I told someone that last night, because I have strep right now. And I told someone that last night that it used to hurt so bad that I had a spit cup, and they were like, oh, like they were appalled by it. Like most people aren't going to get it, but you certainly did. And I just want to acknowledge, like, what's interesting is, so yeah, I have strep. I haven't got my tonsils out. My tonsils are huge. That's why I get
Yeah, same.
strep all the time. It catches everything. So I get it like, a few times a year usually. And it's so interesting. I used to be bedridden. Cold sweats, fever, headache, could barely move. I used to always need antibiotics. Like I was on antibiotics 2 to 3 times every single year for it of my life up until a few years ago when I really started to understand how to heal my system, how to put my biology in an optimal place, how to not strengthen my immune system, to allow my immune system to do what it is meant to do. And now I'm on a fucking podcast. Like I'm in the thick of it. Like this is the peak, I can tell. So yeah, I used to be bedridden and cold sweats, and it used to be really, really bad until a few years ago. And now the difference is staggering. It's like, oh, I actually don't need antibiotics. Like my body is actually functioning properly. If I'm actually removing all of the toxicity, all the things that are a burden and a stress on my system, my immune system actually does its thing. And I'm not saying in every scenario. I mean, there's many factors to that, right? I could be run down. Maybe my circadian rhythm is off, or maybe I'm just, I had a flight, or I'm jet lagged, or whatever, right? There's more factors, but most often now I don't need to take that, and my body fights it off, which is crazy to me because for almost all my life, even when I was younger, when my immune system was supposed to be better, but guess what? I was eating Kraft Dinner and cereal and sugar and shit all day, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just pretty crazy,
Yeah.
the difference in that. And I'm on a podcast, and it's good. Good feeling.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that because um so we've kind of taken different approaches to healing, right? I mean, there's definitely some similarities, but I also take an esoteric approach and a little bit of like a quantum physics approach as well. Like, nutrition, that whole thing has definitely been a huge aspect of my healing journey, but I have that other layer. And I don't know if I've
Well,
shared this with you yet, but a lot of the work that I've been doing with my spiritual healer people, psychics, my spirit guides, everything is coming back to this healing that needs to be done around my throat chakra. And I thought that was really interesting because of this theme of recurring, throat infections as a child. I had my tonsils removed. And not long after that, I started to really balloon and weight, and all of these other sort of like hormonal issues started to crop up that now apparently seem to be related to the thyroid, which is still in that same area, right? So something energetically clearly had not been healed or cleared yet. And even though that organ, the tonsils were removed, that energetic imprint was still there affecting something in that area. And this apparently is relating to not being heard as a child, being silenced, right? Some sort of trauma of being silenced. And, in my family, growing up as a kid, it was like kids are meant to be seen, not heard, right? I don't know how many times I've heard that comment before. And so it was a big aha moment for me there, right? And so there has been some like new healing techniques and things that I have been doing to heal that throat center. And one of them is actually podcasting using your voice, right? So the fact that you are still experiencing a bit of a sore throat, it's obviously a lot better than it used to be, but that you still decided to jump on and do the podcasting, like there's probably some healing in that right now too, which I think is really cool.
yeah, that really is cool. I mean, you've mentioned a few things that I've never really thought about in that way. I think that what's really interesting is I think all of these things are related. I mean, I am very all about a holistic approach, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual approach, right? I mean, because I don't think that I think they're also congruent with each other. I think they do different things, but I know for me, like, let's even just take meditation, right? Which is just kind of a classic example. But if I'm dialed in with my eating and nutrition and workouts, and I've been lifting weights, and I've been, my circadian rhythm is regulated, and I'm getting into those deep sleep cycles, and I'm doing cold therapy, and I'm doing walks in nature and all that stuff, my meditations will be, let's just say, I'm actually going to say profoundly more spiritual in nature than if I wasn't. Now, why? Because it feels like I can tap in to, like, even just everything is kind of functioning as it should. And when I'm meditating, I get into a much more transcendental state, to a
Mm-hmm.
point where I feel like I'm fucking one with nature and one with the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I go to Mexico for a week and I stay at an all inclusive and I'm having drinks and ice cream and burgers and like staying up late and like, not a chance. I'm sitting in my meditation and all I'm doing is I'm thinking and worrying about all the shit. And really what it is I'm just, again, I'm self-conscious, right? It's just like I just have this incredible sense of self. Whereas in the other instance, I lose my sense of self. So where am I going with this? Like, it's all energy at the end of the day, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's all energy. And someone said, like, the other day or a few weeks ago, someone asked me if I believe in miracles, and I said no. And she was shocked. She was like, "What? You don't believe in miracles?" And then she immediately wanted to tell me stories about how these miracles have happened. And I said, I just don't believe those are miracles. I think those are just things that will actually be science one day, quote unquote. Um, we just don't comprehend or understand how those work, but those are just as real and just as normal as, like, taking an antibiotic and curing an infection,
Mm-hmm.
or using oil of oregano, apple cider vinegar, sea salt, and magnesium, and megadose vitamin D3 and C. And, I think, or even like this, like, we're literally talking to each other. I can see you, you can see me. We're talking to each other. We're recording this. Then we're going to put it on a platform where someone can go in on a 4x2 device, 4 inch by 2 inches device that you can fit into your pocket, and they're going to be able to listen to us in their ears while they drive to the gym, or they whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like, or when they're halfway across the world. Like, that was a miracle, a long time ago. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say things like esoteric, I totally appreciate it, and I think that's a great way to, because it makes me understand what you mean. But I don't look at it that way. And I don't look at these things as woo woo. I mean, I look at some of these things as, I just don't think we know quite yet. That's, I guess, why I've struggled to step into that realm, is because I don't know. And I just have to have my own experiences. And I have some quote unquote what people would think are esoteric stuff. Like, I've been reading a ton about quantum physics. I'm hugely, and have been for quite a while, getting into meditation, or sorry, a manifestation. And I believe manifestation is real. It's not the way in which I think a lot of people think it is. Um, I think that we're finding out that what we thought was miracles are actually just science. And what
Mm-hmm.
do I mean by science? I just mean, like, how the world works, like how the world really works, what's actually happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody who's studied any sort of quantum physics or read anything from, like, you know, Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton, the concept of, yeah, there's just there's so much there.
There's a
And you
lot.
can't ignore it. And I've seen incredibly amazing things that would look like a miracle. Like, for example,
Hi, I'm Maddie. Let me tell you a quick story of how I'm supporting my PCOS with Wild Remedies Spiced Chocolate Magic Latte. First of all, I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, so you know I'm investing in finding long-term, sustainable approaches to wellness. Living with PCOS, when things are feeling a little out of balance, it's common for me to wake up groggy, have blood sugar crashes throughout the day, or become totally overwhelmed by daily stressors. My morning coffee was causing blood sugar spikes, anxiety, and tummy trouble, so I swapped it for Wild Remedies spiced chocolate magic latte about a year ago, and believe me when I tell you that the change has been insane. Each sachet has 3 servings of wild Siberian chaga, a powerful antioxidant-rich adaptogenic mushroom that helps to fight inflammation and fatigue and regulate the immune system. It tastes like a creamy hot chocolate with just a hint of spice, and it keeps my stomach calm. Since swapping, I feel more clarity and calm throughout the day, and my morning magic latte helps to set clear intentions for the rest of my day. I save 15% on my monthly subscription at wildremediesshop.com, and at $2.50 per serving, it's saving me a ton on Starbucks runs and supplement orders. Check out the links and promos in the show notes to get your own. Your adrenals will thank you.
There is a video of this, and essentially it's a woman who has a tumor of some sort that's going to kill her, and she gets flown to, I don't know if it was like Japan, it was somewhere in Asia. And there's this group of people who have been trained in a specific way to have such profound belief in healing through the mind that by just standing over this woman and focusing on this tumor that's in her body and thinking the same thing, that you are healed, you are healed, you are healed, you know, they have an ultrasound on her and you literally just watch it disappear. Like, it's a thing. It's crazy. Like, and it's not a miracle. It's quantum fucking physics. Like, there's a lot of shit about this. It's wild.
Yeah, I just actually Googled the definition of miracle: a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable. Explicable. I don't know why I'm struggling with that word. A surprising and welcome event that is not explicable, Jesus, by natural or scientific laws, and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency. Yeah, like that's why I get the divine, and even like source, like some of these words. It's like, yeah, I don't really think those are like new age, or I don't think those are like, miracles or anything. I think that's just how it fucking really works. Do we really know how it all works yet? No. That's why, like, when people talk about astrology and stuff, I'm like, I'm really open-minded. I'm into that stuff. I don't think you're crazy when you talk about astrology. Not necessarily you, I mean just people in general. I don't think people are crazy, because I think the world is actually even crazier than that, of what is really going on. I just struggle to actually, I guess there's just something in me that's like, I need to have, I don't want to say proof, because I just feel like that would be not doing justice, but like my own experience. I need to feel it. I need to experience it, right? And I think it's also really good to approach things with this healthy skepticism, right? Of like,
Absolutely.
And that's really, but what I'm finding, like, you mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, like, he's a guy that's like throwing me for a loop, right? Like, he's a guy that, I listen to and I'm just like, this guy is either insane or is like literally here to save humanity, right? And is an absolute, like, genius would be an understatement, and the more I watch his work and whatnot, the more I'm like, yeah, I really think this guy is like a gift for all of us, and is just doing like really powerful things. And when you say this cancer thing, it's like, yeah, I don't know, like, I just feel that, to simplify it for people, because when you read about quantum physics, it's like you read a Joe Dispenza book, and I actually think he puts it in like simple terms in comparison to other books that you read about it, but it's a mind fuck, right? Like it's a mind fuck, and a lot of people have a hard time understanding, like, but how does it actually work? And really, I would just say that, like, our energy basically, I just look at it in terms of energy, right? If you have an abundance, energetic and emotional state, well, then really the world conspires to give you things that also have that same level of frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. And you could look at that in a woo-woo way. I'll just use that for lack of a better term. Or you could look at that as like, oh, well, if I feel like I'm in an abundant or energetic state, well, then guess what? People who are abundant and energetic are going to be attracted to me. I'm going to have a better chance to be able to, um, you know, do better in this negotiation, or actually get the partnership that I want, or like attract my dream partnership, because really in this world, like attracts like. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
So, and then you're going to be less depressed, so you're going to go to the gym more, and then you're going to look better, and then you're going to feel better, and then you're going to feel like eating better, so your vibe and your frequency is going to elevate, and then it just all starts to fall into place. And that's really, to me, how this all really works in terms of
Mm-hmm.
manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, there's so many different modalities out there too. And what you mentioned about like just needing to be able to experience for yourself. And I think with, some of these things that you mentioned that you struggle with a little bit, it's just that you haven't really experienced it yet. Right. And generally, people don't reach out for some of those quote unquote woo woo type healing modalities, or, learning deeper about themselves through astrology or human design and some of those things, just because maybe they haven't felt the need. They need to go through like a dark night of the soul in order to search for some answers. And I know that was certainly the case for me. I think women in particular are just a little bit more open to those types of things. And I actually had a conversation about this the other day. I had a woman named Vika Bradford on the podcast. She's a karmic astrologer. And that was actually one of the first things that we talked about. I was like, yay, like I'm so excited to talk about astrology. It's like pretty much every woman's favorite topic and every man's eye roll topic, And she was like, oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. She's like, here's the reason that I think that is, which made a lot of sense to me. And for men, it's, a little bit more grounded in science and reason and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, what's been lost in pop astrology is that it's been really kind of dumbed down and made into something that it's really not, because there is a lot of science. It's like a merge of science and art that relates to yoga, that relates to Ayurveda. And it can be extremely precise and very cool. And that episode in particular, I highly recommend you check it out. It's cool, especially because you have like that wounded healer archetype. She talks about certain it's not even planets, but it's nodes of the moon. It's an energetic imprint that we come in with that can talk about our purpose in life based off of some of these like karmic things, some of like the hard things, the woundings. And then that's what we're meant to teach from, especially as the wounded healer archetype. And that's very like it shows up perfectly in my chart, and it probably shows up in yours as well.
That's really cool. Yeah, look, I'm very open to talking about this with many people, and I would actually love to have someone on the. So I don't know if you'd recommend her, but I'd love to have
for
someone
sure.
on the
She's great.
podcast. Yeah, like for that. And look, I want to clarify. Like, I'm the first to roll my eyes with people who need a double-blind, placebo-controlled study for everything. Otherwise, they don't believe that anything is possible. Just as much as I will roll my eyes when, like, I get into a dating scenario where someone wants to know, my my birthday, the exact time, and everything like that, and is going to literally base whether or not we're going to be a good fit on just that. Like, I think there's two extremes that I just don't like. But something like this, where there is some like evidence. Look, science does have value, obviously, right? Like, data and research like does have value, so long as it's not flawed based on hidden agendas, and how that really goes. And we got to look at where studies are funded and what the biases are and all this stuff. But I like that, someone who takes it a little more to a point of, like, I don't know, just combining what we know already with the possibility of what we think could be happening beyond what we actually know, right? It's interesting you mentioned like the guy thing, because Dr. Joe Dispenza, a lot of people don't know this, he's not a fan of astrology. Okay, he'll be the one who talks about, and
Oh,
I kind of have,
interesting.
yeah, I kind of have, well, he'll joke about, he'll be like, so here's my take on, like, when I hear astrology, for example, and again, I'm open-minded, but I have the same thinking that he does. He says, astrology is he's like, what's most important is what you're feeling and thinking. So he's like, if you think your life is bad because of how the moon is or however it works, then your life is going to be bad, obviously, because that's how quantum physics will work. If you think that your life is good because you know um the moon is in a certain phase, well, then your life is going to be good. I mean, that's kind of like his approach, and I know that's like an oversimplification. That's his perspective, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably so ignorant in talking about this. Well, I'll just say that I am, because I don't really know a whole lot about astrology. So some people who are like super bought into it are going to be like, Kaylor, you don't even know what you're talking about. So it is ignorant. But I just, he'll say like, how far away is the moon? Like millions of miles or something. He'll just say like, and then some people will think their life is actually bad because of something millions of miles away. And he's like, your life is bad based on what's going on internally, or an energetic and emotional state,
Mm-hmm.
right? You are literally energy. And then I think someone who's into astrology would say, well, the moon obviously affects that energy inevitably, right? So who knows? I think it's all
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, and I think it's all necessary. And I never criticize anyone's journey, because it's like, whatever you feel really resonates with you, we all have a right to it. And I think we have to dive in and try everything. I had a medium, a psychic medium on my podcast.
I listened to that episode.
You do, yeah. And I
Yeah.
left way less. I don't even want to say skeptical. I just left way more open minded to it. I
I was
was.
like, okay, you know what was missing from that episode though? Like I thought she was gonna give you a bit of a reading. Like that's what I was waiting for. I was like, okay, I want her to like pull out some crazy shit story, whatever, that just blows Kaylor's mind and is like, how did you know that about me? Nobody knows that about me. That's what
I
I was
totally
hoping
agree.
for.
I totally
That would have been
agree.
cool.
I'm waiting for that. That's what I'm really waiting for. And I've had a
Mhm.
couple readings from mediums, and I don't know. It just didn't.
Wasn't great.
Well, it just wasn't like. Um, it wasn't like conclusive to me. Like
Mhm.
I was like, well,
Yeah.
I don't. This could just be this, or this just could be that. And look, I really try and have an open mind. When I do watch these shows, like I forget what his name is on. There's a Netflix. He's like the big. I think his name's Tyler. He's gay. He's like 25 years old, and he's like crazy medium and does all these celebrities and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched the series, and I'm like, damn, like, look, if this really is all staged, and if this is just an act, I mean, it's it's very impressive. I don't know how they do it. Like, I don't know how they do it. I also said the same thing about mentalism, though. So this is one
Hmm.
thing that made me a little more skeptical. I'm being just really real here. You know what mentalism is?
No.
Mentalism is like magic, but of the mind. So it would be like, if a mentalist was beside you right now, he would do tricks like he would get you to like think of like a number, and he would like tell you what it is, or he would get you to like write down something on a piece of paper, and then he would like be able to tell you what you wrote down, or he would give you a
Okay.
dice and you'd like roll it, and you'd be looking at it, and he would be able to look at you and know what number it was on, right?
Just with like by like minute like cues and stuff that you're doing with your body and that sort of thing.
Well, that's what I thought.
Ah. Oh.
That's what I thought. And I mean, I guess spoiler alert. I mean, I was so fascinated by mentalism, because I was like, holy shit, this is like and there's only like probably around like 50 or so, like really quite well-known mentalists in the world. Like, it's like not super common. And I was so fascinated, because I'm like, these people are able to tap into people's body language,
Hmm.
their like, a lot of them would say like, oh, I use like NLP principles and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and so neuro linguistic programming, like. And I was like, damn, like, this is really interesting. And they would say things like, anyone can do it. It's just some people are like the Mozart of this stuff, right? But like everyone has that ability, and this is what I hear mediums say, right? I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I often hear mediums say, you know what, everyone has these abilities. It's just like we're really tapped into it, and like we're really able to.
Mm-hmm.
And mentalists say the same thing. And then I was so fascinated by it. I took a really deep dive, and it's all a crock of shit. It's just tricks. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like mind blowing. Like you would think they're reading minds. You would think that they're, but even like, I'll just give an example. Like the dice they use, it has like this little chip in it, and they have a watch, and it shows what, like stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I'm just
Yeah.
like, man, I really bought into it, and I really wanted it to be true.
You wanted it to be true.
Of
Yeah.
course I do. I want
Yeah.
medium. I really want to know that we do have the ability to connect with people after life. I want to know that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I'm not willing to believe with blind faith. I mean, I don't know. I just don't have the ability to do that. And maybe
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone does. I think everyone has to have their own experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even with like astrology and stuff, they need some sort of experience that's like, oh my God, this is so I think there's something there in all of those things. I just don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you from my own personal experience that, I've experienced some very profound I guess realizations and truths with psychics that I've worked with. I I built this company, Wild Remedies, based off of, well, I guess several divine, I want to say, instances that happen in a short period of time. And then I ended up working with a woman. I was going through a very difficult period at the time and was referred to her by a friend. I was in Malaysia at the time. I wasn't living there anymore, but I was visiting. And so I met her for the first time in person. And she gave me a reading and was like, okay, so here's the theme for the next three years of your life. And, she mentioned things like, at the time I was dating a guy and it wasn't going very well at that point, but she told me, she's like, he's going to betray you. And I was like, I didn't think that would ever happen. Right. Like I figured he had integrity and that sort of thing. And that, if we did part ways, it wouldn't be, based off of betrayal or anything like that. I couldn't have even fathomed that. And then a couple of months later, he just snuck home while I was gone, packed up all this stuff and ran off. And I never heard from him again. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't even realize it until I was on a call with my mom. And I was just like, I told her what had happened. And she was like, oh my gosh, like what a betrayal. And I was like, ooh, okay. There's kind of like that first thing, right? And then these things kept happening in my life that when I would look back at the notes from the first conversation that we had, I was like, holy shit, okay, like she was right about this. And she was right about this. She's right about this. And things that I thought just there was no way were going to happen because she gave me timelines and stuff too. And like clockwork, these things would happen. But I would still doubt it, right? Because I've used the conversations that I've had with her. I've been working with her for about 5 years now. I see her now maybe once a year, maybe twice. And, even though all of these prophecies that she has given me have always come true at the time that she says they're going to happen, I get to a point of like being really uncomfortable with something and like thinking something's not going to happen, even though I really want it to. And I'm like, why can't I just trust in this? I've been given this gift by knowing this person. I've chosen a very, difficult lifetime where I'm doing very big, hard, scary things that I've been challenged to do on my own. Right. And so I feel very blessed to have found some people in my life that really helped me along that journey, because she's told me like, this year you need to do whatever it takes to get your business off the ground, whatever it takes. Right. And for me, that was like getting some really big business loans in order to launch my business. And it's allowed me to be a little bit more bold and less afraid to do some of these big things because there are some kind of assurances. She's like, it will work out for you. Like, but you just need to make these big moves. And yeah, I bet on myself too, of course, but it's definitely helped me. So for me, it's been a really great tool, and I have seen like stuff come true. And that could also just be part of the process of me being like, well, she said that this was real and this is going to happen. And so I have this belief in it, right? And so you have like this biology of belief, right? And then it happens. So I don't know. There's lots of
Well,
different levels there.
well, look, I I want an experience like that, and I should actually go see someone like who you're talking about, like someone who's really good. And
I'll hook you
you know
up.
what? Yeah, please do, because
Mhm.
I'm telling you right now, I want to have those experiences. I think it would be so cool if there was a lot of validity to these things. And I've had a couple medium readings or medium experiences. I had my angel cards read. That was the most underwhelming thing I've
Aw.
ever done for my journey. And I'm like, I want this to be profound. I really do. And look, just the fact that I'm continuing to show up, and like I'm gonna go until I maybe do have an experience that gives me kind of that conclusive um just kind of experience where I'm like, yeah, there is something about this, because I'm so open-minded to everything. And that's what, so you want to know, one of the things I really like about you, Krista, and I always have, is even though you are, let's just call your belief in these kind of modalities is really strong, and it's been profound. Like, I can tell you have unwavering confidence in some of these things, like with your psychic and like astrology and all these things. But when I come in here and I express my, let's just say, skepticism, for a lack of a better term, there's not, I can tell, and I'm really good with reading someone's energy. There's not one bit of you that feels attacked. And I just want you to know how powerful that is. And I want you to know that there are actually people listening right now that are probably going to go and unfollow me on social media because they're so triggered. They're so triggered that I have skepticism when it comes to these things. I'm telling you, and I see it on social media. I see it in the comments. I see it on, like, as soon as I suggest something that goes against their beliefs that they attach so tightly to, it threatens their identity. And this is kind of what we were talking about in the beginning. You mentioned, like, yeah, but we can't make this our identity. That's one thing I've always really liked about you.
Mhm.
I feel very comfortable and safe. And I think this is so beautiful that we're on a podcast like this and we're talking about this thing. And it's like, there's not one bit of defensiveness or one bit of like we feel challenged or threatened. And it's just beautiful, and I
Mhm.
really appreciate that about you. And I think that's actually one of your big I think that's one of your really big skill sets, let's just say, is the ability to not like have that emotional reaction to this.
Mm.
I think that's so important in today's world. Like, because for all we know, in like a year, I'm going to be sitting here and be like, can I come back on? Because I want to talk about astrology because I just had this profound experience, right? Like, unlikely, but maybe.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And I mean, I think it's because, I I'm a skeptic as well, right? So even though I would say that I believe in these things, I still feel like I don't totally know how it works. And like I mentioned, like I still question myself along the way. And I think that's because I'm a critical thinker, which I know you are as well. And to just think that you are right about everything, the audacity.
It's fucked up.
I don't identify with that, right? Like I am totally open to changing my mind, to looking at different views, to, like I don't think anything is linear at all. And to just be like, it is just this way and there is no other way, and you're a complete fucking idiot if you don't believe what I believe, is just pure insanity to me. Like I can't.
It's funny. So I actually want to bring this up because this is something I've been meaning to talk about for a while. It's what comes up for me when you say that, because I totally agree. The fucking audacity to say that. And So this is something I've been meaning to talk about for a while. So one of the things, and it just is what comes up for me when you say what you said, which I agree with everything you said. One of the things I say often in like a quote or in a video on my social media or in my podcast is I'll say, speak your truth or be your truth or own your truth, right? Your truth. And there's always those people who come in and say, Kaylor, there's no such thing as your truth. There's only the truth. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that because, yeah,
No.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying that at the end of the day, at the end of all of it, there is the objective truth. However, the audacity, like you just said, to think that you know so that's why I say your truth. And one thing I also often say is I prioritize speaking and telling people what I believe they need to hear, not what they always want to hear, what's convenient. And I say that intentionally, where I say what I believe people need to hear. And what that means is I actually have the humility to know that I'm not always right. I'm not always going to tell someone what they actually need to hear in that moment because I'm not fucking super like man or whatever, right? I don't have that ability. And sometimes I am wrong and I don't have the audacity to think that, everything I speak or live is like the truth. But also, it also is like your truth, as in like it could be your personality, right? You could be the life of the party. You could be, you know, you could be an introvert, you could be, whatever it is, it's like your truth. But we always have the people that come out and say the truth, and it's like, you know I don't it's so much more complicated than that. you know I know there's things I believe so greatly that are wrong, and that's why I actually love Joe Rogan when he actually uses the best analogy. I think he says your beliefs should be like your clothes. They're pertinent, they're important, they're relevant, right? You use them and they are attached to you in a way, but you can change them at any moment. You could throw something out, you could adopt new clothes. And not only that, but you inevitably will.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Joe Rogan as well. And yeah, it's something that I really struggle with, trying to have a conversation with somebody who is just completely immovable in their beliefs. And yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's too many people in this world who are like that. And, it sucks. But the world needs more people who attach a little less tightly to those beliefs and more so focus on the values, right? Values are incredibly important, and you can connect with someone. This is why me and you connect, because we don't have all the same beliefs and things. Whereas it's funny, a lot of people won't hire me as a coach unless I have all the same beliefs. Whereas
Interesting.
someone who is really, I think, a conscious being and someone who's really intelligent would actually say, "You trigger me." And I've had this. I actually am bringing her on as a coach now. I coached her. I've been coaching her for a long time, and she's so amazing. And now she's actually going to work with us. And she said she hired me because I triggered her a lot,
Hmm.
and she knows that those are actually the way. Like if she were to go with a coach that only said things that were convenient and comfortable for her, right? That, at least for her, where she was at, was not conducive to the growth that she needed to do. She knew that the triggers that she got from me were actually the biggest blocks and barriers in her life as well too, that if she could work through those with me, she would then see those returns in the real world, right? And you got to
Mhm.
ask yourself, if you're triggered by something, you got to like, what a beautiful opportunity to go inwards. Most people project outwards when they get triggered, and they yell and they get angry, and it's not about that person. When you get triggered, it's all about you. You got to go inwards. And what a beautiful opportunity to learn more about yourself, learn more about those unhealed wounds that you have, because that's why you're getting triggered. And then what a beautiful opportunity to learn how to emotionally regulate. So um, we live in a world where a lot of people are like only willing to listen to podcasts that they you know, I'll listen to the Rich Roll podcast sometimes. Rich
Mm.
Roll's like a die-hard vegan and like
Mm.
ultra marathon runner. I think veganism and running ultra marathons are like one of the two worst things you can do for your health,
Oh my God, your
right?
poor adrenals. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but yet I think he really is, at the end of the day, he's really good at what he does. He's a genius. I don't like everything he says. Sometimes I shake my head. I'm like, Rich, you're so much smarter than this, but he's good at what he does. You know, I listen to other things and I love all perspectives, and we need to start living in a world where, yeah, it goes too far. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not hanging out with people who wear 9 masks and wish lockdowns would come back and, you know,
Yeah.
are virtue signaling till the cows come home. Like, okay. Those aren't my people. I'm not saying you have to hang out with these people. I'm not saying you even have to listen to these people. But people who are kind of in the middle with I love Joe Rogan. Like, this guy's one of my favorite people on earth. If I could have a drink or a coffee or something with anyone, he would be one of my top like 5. But I don't agree with everything he says. I don't. I often hear things he says. I'm like, nope, don't agree with that. It's all good. But I don't immediately think Joe's a fucking idiot and I'm right and he's wrong.
Cancel.
Yeah, like, sure, you can think a little bit about that. Yeah. You can think a little bit about that, but you also have to then think, is he onto something? Because if you don't actually take any time to reflect in that moment, you are just so attached to your beliefs that you're actually equating them as your identity. And that's a dangerous place to be.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's interesting. I mean, like, you mentioned not working with certain people because they didn't want to be triggered by you. That to me is totally wild. Like, in the first place, why the fuck are you hiring a coach if you just want somebody to like tell you things that you want to hear about yourself? Because that's not the reason that you do that in the first place.
Mm.
And also, just by working with you myself, like, you do have this fly, goodness. You do have a quote unquote tough love style a little bit to you, but I mean, there's a lot of love in there. Like, to me, I don't know. And maybe because you've told me, you're like, Krysta, you're very coachable. I mean, I'm just open to stuff, right? Like, I'm open to different perspectives, to trying different things. Like, I have had to try so many different healing modalities in order to get myself to the place where I am now, pharma free, feeling relatively fantastic. Almost every single day, I still struggle with some stuff. There's a few more things that I'm working on, but like, my God, from where I used to be, it's night and day. Um, and yeah, like, but you have to be willing to get off your ass and try new things, right? And have some fucking personal responsibility. That is a massive thing too.
But and I've always told you this. When I say you're coachable, it's just you have so much humility in that. And that's why you've gotten to this place. You came to me and, it would have been so easy, and it still is so easy for you to come in and just say like, I know everything, like, like I have it all figured out. And it's not that you would ever say that. You could kind of put on this front of like false humility, but at the end of the day, in your core, you could actually really believe that like, I kind of have this all figured out. Like, and then you wouldn't believe how many people only look for coaches that, they'll maybe have a consultation with a coach and then they'll say like, oh, this doesn't feel in alignment. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
let's break that down. What do you mean by it doesn't feel like an alignment? I'm open to that. Some things aren't aligned, obviously, right? And some people are in a place where they could use a little more tough love and masculine energy. Some people are in a place where they actually have been fucking pushing and going and going and going, and they need to actually um, work with someone who has more of a feminine approach. So I'm open to that, but I think often we think something is in alignment, and what it is it's actually just our unhealed wounds in our subconscious that our subconscious is now going out and trying to protect us from ever experiencing again. And that's why we get triggered, because it's like a hyper alert. It's like, it's your subconscious recognizing that you're actually in danger of experiencing a wound that you experienced in your past. That's what being triggered ultimately is. Well, guess what? How do we heal wounds? Ultimately, you have to face them. The only way to actually, quote unquote, beat a wound is to eventually and at some point and to some degree face them. So the last coach I hired, which by the way, same thing, I always want to make sure I have the humility to be able to work with coaches, right? It's easy as a coach to say, no, I have it all figured out. I can. No, that's bullshit. You don't. I do not have it all figured out. The last coach I hired, I'm just going to be really real. I didn't like him. I didn't really like him as a person. I respected him. He just was annoying to me. He annoyed me. He annoyed me, and he still does. And he triggers me, right? But I saw objectively, and this is what critical thinking is all about. Normally, I would have written off him because I didn't like him. And I'm like, I'm not going here to get help from someone I like. I'm here to go and get help with someone who objectively knows the truth that I need to know, right? That's what I need. We brought on this new lawyer with mental wealth because we're, getting more advising in other areas. And I said to my assistant after, I'm like, this guy just the things he says, he annoys me. Same thing, right? And then after a couple calls, I was like, no, I actually really like this guy because he annoys me. But it's because he tells me what he believes I need to hear, and he doesn't care whether I want to hear it or not. And guess what? When you're working with a lawyer or a coach, that's what you fucking want. You don't want someone who just tells you what you need to hear or what you want to hear, right? That to me is what a good friend is, a good lawyer, a good coach. So that's why I go from the tough love approach, and I get a lot of shit for it because people say that I'm being a dick. And Kaylor, you're in mental health. How can you say those things? Like, what about people's feelings? And it's like, because I don't give a fuck about people's feelings in the moment. If that's what I need to sacrifice in order for them to be told the truth, that's going to serve them in the long run, their highest quality of life. We just went through a pandemic where medical professionals, governments, and health officials were too fucking afraid to tell people that if you're fat and you're lazy and you don't work out and you're eating bullshit food, they were too afraid to hurt people's feelings and let them know that that actually is going to be the most effective strategy to get us out of it. That to me is the least empathetic and compassionate thing you can do.
Amen. Seriously. Yeah. No.
Don't get me started.
Well, fuck, man. Now I want to go down that tangent, obviously. But I'm adding up the time from our 3 recordings that we had to make because I don't know what the hell has been going on.
Mercury retrograde. Oh, it's over.
I know.
It's over.
The Mercury went direct the other day, so I don't know what's happening here. But yeah, we literally had to hop off and hop back on. This is our 3rd time now. I've never had this happen before. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
What kind of ship are you running over there, Krysta?
A fucking Zencaster. It's not me. This is platform. Might have to reconsider it now.
You would use Zencaster.
Is it shitty?
That's so Krysta. No, well, I mean, it hasn't made a good first impression. Its functionality seems good. It's just the fact that we've been booted off 3 times is not a great sign. However, I mean, technology is technology, right? Zoom sucks sometimes too, and that's what we use.
That's true. Well, and I mean, this is now, I don't know. Ooh, maybe our 13th or 14th recording without this issue. So yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I'm not going to judge Zencaster too much.
This is a really bad ad for them. Sorry, guys.
I don't want to get
usually
sued.
Works. Okay, well, I mean, we could go on for a while, but I don't want to keep you too long, and we need to keep it to around the hour mark, which I think that we are at. But I mean, I gave you a pretty good testimonial at the beginning of the podcast. I think some folks might want to reach out and learn more about you and what you do. How can people connect, talk about your podcast, all the things?
Yeah, thanks so much, Krysta. So I would say that, excuse me, the first thing is go to the Kaylor Betts on Instagram. That's where all my stuff is, and that's where I push out, my messages. That's where I speak my truth, right? And I try and always speak the truth, but I'm sure I'm wrong at some points. Anyways, so yeah, at the Kaylor Betts is my Instagram. You can go there, you can check it out. And then the Mental Wealth Podcast is obviously my podcast that you can go check out. And then lastly, I'll just throw out a link. It's buildmentalwealth.co. This is our page for if someone wants to sign up for a call and go through the process that Krysta went through in terms of seeing if this might be a good fit for coaching and to ultimately achieve mental wealth, which we talked about at the beginning of this episode. You have nothing to lose and everything to possibly gain. It's a complimentary call. We still do that, even amidst a lot of advice to start charging for those. No, we want to keep the barrier of entry low. We have people come in, we see if it's a good fit. And if you're like most people, you might really like what you hear and you might want to come into our academies. We have trainings, we have communities now of people who are awake from all over the world who you can connect with. People are becoming best friends and roommates, and it's really fucking cool. And it's a tribe for sure. And then we have group calls. We have one-on-one options, and it's really, really powerful. So you can go to buildmentalwealth.co, not .com, if you want to check more out about that and sign up for a call.
So profesh. Love that outro. That was amazing. Until you have a podcast.
Yeah. You're going to get to that point where it comes like second nature, but you're doing great. You're doing great, Krysta. It's really cool to see. And thanks for having me on. I'm really quite happy to have been on and jam with you, and let's do it again.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kaylor. I've loved chatting with you. It's been too long. We gotta do it again soon.
100%.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.
Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life, and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big magic box, containing all 3 of our beautiful magic lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.